Hey, yo, welcome to another edition of 43.6, the sports podcast you always wanted. I'm Dustin Perry, and I'm joined by James Key. Hello, James.
Dude, hello.
We'll explain that in a second. And Maddie Key, hello.
Yo.
So that exasperated hello by James, or whatever it was that he said, was mainly because we had a number of technical issues going into this show, and I think we have it figured out. So if there's an episode that you're listening to on the day you expect to listen to it or watch it, good. And everything worked out fine. We just happened to be recording 2 hours later than we normally do. But hey, here we are, and we are recording the podcast called 43.6. Thanks for following us and subscribing and doing all those nice things on the social medias at 43.6. We're going to talk about a number of things today, one of which being the Toronto Blue Jays, Fernando Tatis Jr. and ringworms, Serena Williams, Antonio Brown, and we're back to top fives. Today, we're discussing the top 5 most hated sports figures of all time, as according to us. And of course, we'll wrap the show up with shout outs. But before we get to all that, we normally recap the week. But James, I don't know if you want to recap the past 2 hours.
Dude, I don't give a fuck. My week means nothing compared to what I just experienced with you guys. I feel like we're closer as people now, as friends, brothers in arms in this podcast path.
I lived with you for like 23 years.
Yeah, you're actually my real brother. So that, I don't know how much closer we can get than that. It's probably illegal, at least in some countries. So we Dustin, I don't know if you want to explain to people listening on audio, we should have video this week, which is kind of neat. It's still kind of in its infancy, but I don't know what happened. Like something fucked with the audio. I think it's Windows updates. So if the audio sounds different this week, I'm sorry. I'll go back and try and work on it throughout the week if I have to, but we should have video, which will be really cool on YouTube, I guess.
Yeah, so you head over to YouTube, you go look up 43.6, find that channel, make sure you hit subscribe to it. And this episode 18, I believe. Yes, episode 18 should be available on the YouTube feed. So that's exciting. And as we go further along this journey, we're going to start adding more and more different things. And of course, it's the first episode on YouTube. Maybe it looks good, maybe it doesn't, but we're experimenting as we go.
Like just when I was in college.
We really are brothers.
God damn it. All right. Anything else for your week, or should we go to Maddie's week?
Nah, you can go to Maddie's week.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it feels like I'm a broken record at this point because everything's been so consumed. Another IKEA trip, more IKEA building, more adult Lego for me. It's to the point where like I got to start paying them rent for the amount that I just kind of am there. And food that I eat, I feel like I'm at like a bed and breakfast at this point.
Dude, when we were there, we were talking about this. The absolute fact that they serve booze in IKEA boggles my mind. Like, that's got to be for the people who just don't want to be there. Like, there can be no other reason that you would need to serve alcohol at IKEA of all places.
Like the dad that gets dragged there on a Saturday morning, and he's just like,
our dad?
Fuck it.
Our dad? But like,
yeah, our dad.
the thing is though, is they serve both ends of the spectrum. They serve beer and baby food. Like if your baby needs food, like they really have everybody covered, right? Like I think that's kind of the goal, is that if you're a raging alcoholic, IKEA welcomes you. If you're an infant and haven't discovered raging alcoholism yet, they have you covered too. So
they're prepping you for adulthood.
I mean, sorta.
Yeah. But yeah, like, okay. And speaking of IKEA, is there, and how do I put this? When you're standing in line at food at IKEA on a busy time, is there a more triggering or, I guess, instance that makes you want to hit somebody in the back of the head with an IKEA tray more than the person that isn't up to the food server and already know what they want and they're like humming and hawing?
That's not just IKEA. That's any food service.
No, but
anywhere.
The IKEA line is egregiously.
No, man.
It's more long than any other line. So you have extra time to figure out 4 menu items. There's fucking 4 menu items up there.
Yeah, it's either the meatballs, and then it's either the meat, the veggie, or the vegan. And then there's the fish and chips. And then there's one other thing that you can get. Oh, poutine, right? And then you have your two sides. It's either rice, veggies, the medallion, or French fries or mashed potatoes. Like, it's not fucking hard. And then you have people up there like, do I want... But if I get French fries, I can't get mashed potatoes because that's just too much starch. And it's like, motherfucker, move it along.
Yeah, it's not like
You've
Turtle
got 45
Jacks.
other people behind you.
It's not like you're ordering at Turtle Jacks.
Yeah.
Sure, but if you're at the drive-through window at a McDonald's,
No, unacceptable.
you know what I mean? Like, okay, there's a lot of drive-through places that don't have their menu posted properly. Like, it's not far enough back in the line or in the
Starbucks.
queue. Where, yeah, like it should be far enough back where you're 2 or 3 cars before you get to the speaker that you can see the full menu. So sometimes I don't necessarily blame people, but at the same time, it's McDonald's. You've been going there since you were a child.
Yeah.
You know what
But
you
even
want.
McDonald's has more of an excuse than IKEA, again, because of the breadth of the menu. I can understand being torn between a McChicken and a Big Mac. What I can't understand being torn is the meatballs or the fish and chip. Like, there's nuggets at McDonald's. There's a McChicken. There's a quarter pounder. There's a Big Mac. There's a double cheeseburger. A McDouble.
Filet.
You can get a fillet of fish. You can get 10 nuggets. You can get 6 nuggets. You could get a junior chicken and a McDouble if you want. There are many combinations and different options you can have. At IKEA, it's you get the food, then you go get your fucking garlic bread and get the fuck out. Like, that's it. There shouldn't be anything else.
Speaking of the garlic bread, though, funny story. Okay, there was like 4 slices left, and there was like this guy and his kid behind us, and you could tell they're eyeing up the garlic bread. The kid's looking. I could hear him whisper behind me, and he's just like, "Dad," he's just like, "Oh, maybe they'll bring out more garlic bread." I took the last 4 slices and kind of just gave him a side look, and then went to the cash. I didn't eat all 4. I ended up eating, like, I gave obviously my wife one and Jim had one, but then like I ate like 1.5 pieces and tossed it. But like, I just ruined that kid's day.
6 minutes for garlic bread. 6 minutes. They totally gave up.
It's the little things. But yeah, no, like okay, so the IKEA drive-through or drive-through.
IKEA needs a
food line.
drive-through. Dude, can you imagine? I'll take Swedish meatballs and a Malm, please. You just throw it in the bag.
Can I get a Calyx
To
or
go?
a Bremnes? Can I get a Bremnes TV stand?
Yeah.
But the Starbucks drive-through might be the worst because you have. This is my thing. If you go to Starbucks drive-through, fine, whatever. If your drink is complicated to order, fine, that's acceptable. But you don't go to the Starbucks drive-through if you're testing something out.
No.
Like if you're looking at the menu and you're like, well, I like this, but can you try putting this in or can you do this? No. The drive-through is, even if you have like a double shot espresso, extra whip, throw some cinnamon, sea salt, extra hot, extra wet, like that's fine. But know your shit going in.
That's gotta be the worst job ever. A barista at Starbucks.
No, we had a couple friends who've done it and they loved it.
Yeah, I've only ever heard great things about being a barista at Starbucks. Oddly and ironically, probably because you get all the free drinks in the world. And to be honest, like, even if customers are pissed, like, there's no rules at Starbucks. Sure, free drink. I don't give a shit. Like, Starbucks doesn't give a shit. When their debit machine's broken, they just handed drinks out the window. They don't give a fuck. I was like, I don't have cash. They're like, okay, it's on the house.
Yeah.
There's no stress.
It's just, and like the fucked up shit that like our friends used to make, like drink wise and stuff, like off hours or like before or after their shift or like during breaks. Unreal. I'm like, put that on the menu.
Totally. Dustin's like, I don't believe it.
I just look at it like, as you're explaining, the half this, no that, a little of this, and extra sweet. It's just it's too much.
Yeah, but like that's like the one person, and I guarantee you, and this is my theory.
No, there isn't one
There's
person.
so many
There's
white
that,
girls
like,
on this planet. There's so many
Seriously.
girls.
But like what I'm saying, my theory is they ask for all that, they print the label out, but they probably don't actually make it that way, and that person doesn't even fucking know.
That's true, right? Like if the first person who ever made your Starbucks drink didn't make it right, then you would never know.
Exactly.
How they gonna know?
Right? They'll never know. They'll never know.
They'll never know. So, but yeah, my week was more IKEA, and as I mentioned last week, planning now for my Korean excursion. Apparently we're going on a 7-kilometer hike. So up a mountain. Like that's going to be fantastic with a pregnant wife because she's all hyped for it. And then who's the one who's going to have to be like, all right, come on. And like
Piggyback?
slow it down.
Oh.
Yeah. She's just going to become my backpack. She can hold the snacks and I'll just hold her.
She just feeds you from the back?
Yeah. Exactly. It's a winning combination, as it were. So yeah, that's my week. Dustin, what are you doing this week?
Well, this past week, I can't remember if it was this past weekend or the weekend before, but like the English Premier League started at some point, and I'm going to preface this by saying I don't give a flying fuck about English Premier League soccer.
Whoa,
but
calm down. Liverpool fan in the house, chill.
Sure. My issue with that is how it's no longer on DAZN. So now there's zero chance I will ever watch English Premier League as long as it's not on DAZN. Because I'm not spending.
Soccer?
Have you looked into this?
What's it called?
Fubo TV?
No, isn't it like Soccer One or One?
No. You have to go to like Fubo TV or whatever. Not like it's Fubu or Fubo or whatever it is.
Listen,
Fubo
brother,
TV, not Fubu.
I got that Android hookup.
Right. So unless you're finding some nefarious means into doing
Like watching
this,
a FIFA 2021 game.
it's $20 a month. It's $20 a month for Fubu TV.
Which is crazy because the Sportsnet fan package, or no, the Bell fan package for sports fan is $25, I think. And it's got TSN Sportsnet and all that shit. So,
And I want to say I could be wrong about this. I think it's only $20 because you have to sign up for like a full 12 months or something.
is it $20 for the 12 months?
It's $20. No. It's $20 per month if you sign a 12-month deal.
Otherwise, it's probably 25, right?
Then it's $25 if you do it individually for the month, I believe. I might be reading this wrong. I don't care. It's too goddamn confusing.
So if you're trying to grow the sport in Canada, like that's the shittiest
Right.
way to do that. It's like someone's like, "Oh, it's getting popular. Let's dig in." But like you dig in when it's popular, not when it's getting popular. When it's the top sport in Canada, then charge $25 a month. Right? But until then, like if soccer disappeared from this country tomorrow, like I'm sure tons of people would be bummed. We would all live. If hockey disappeared, I'm sure there would be a number of people jumping off various.
We
heights
had
of
hockey
buildings.
disappear for a year, and people just sat there and talked about missing the hockey.
That's not necessarily true. I found other things to do. But yeah, I feel like every 8 years or whatever, we don't have hockey. That's just how the NHL operates. It's something they bake in a lockout. It's like, okay, we're going to play for 8 years, and then we're going to lock out, and then we'll play for 8 years more and lock out again.
Dustin's being that guy.
We have gone through 3 lockouts in our lifetime.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's insanity for a
Wait,
professional sports league.
3? I thought it was 2. Well, 1.5.
Baseball hasn't had that much, and baseball's known for the lockout. Like that's
Right.
No, baseball's not known for the lockout. Donald Fair is known for the lockout.
Oh no, you're thinking.
Am I making that up? Wasn't there 3 lockouts?
Yeah,
No, it was 1.5.
1.5.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm not. A lockout doesn't necessarily mean the full season. I mean, they were locked out. Like games were canceled.
Yeah,
So 1.5 is 2.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. How many baseball have? They had 1.5, right? 2.
There was an NHL lockout in 94, 95, 04, 05, and 2012, 2013. In our lifetimes, there's been
Shit.
3 NHL lockouts.
And baseball?
Baseball wasn't a lockout. It was I don't know if it was
The players were locked
Association
out.
who went on
No.
strike.
No,
the players
were
got locked out. Then they went on strike.
Okay, whatever the case was.
They locked out before games were played, and they didn't come to an agreement till spring training, I think. So
Right, but to your point, James, like the Major League Baseball is known as the league that locked out,
and they've done it twice.
and maybe that's because they don't give a shit about hockey in the United States, so it didn't resonate down there like
Right.
it did up here, right?
So what did you do though? So we asked you what you did. You're just talking about expensive soccer channels.
I looked into like trying to find a way to watch English Premier League soccer because my dad likes to watch it, and I'm like, okay, how much does this cost?
Who's your dad?
Because originally for me, like I had DAZN, and I had DAZN just for NFL.
Who's your
And
dad
then-
cheer for?
Oh, Manchester United.
Fuck your dad.
Dude, I don't know. Like, what do you want from me? Like, he
All right.
he used to live in England.
Is
Okay,
NFL
like he has.
NFL still on the DAZN?
I mean, as of now, yeah. NFL football is still on DAZN in Canada, so that's what I'll have to now
Does your
resubscribe
dad
to.
have an English
when that.
accent?
Say what?
Does he have an English accent?
Who? My dad?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
My sister does though.
Really?
Yeah, because my dad was. Both my parents were born in India, and then they didn't know each other in India. They met in England, and then my sister was born in England. So she doesn't have a full-on English accent. I shouldn't say that. She came here when she was like 7 years old. But there are some words that come out all of a sudden, total hardcore British accent.
That's cool, man.
So essentially where I'm going with this, I tried to look at Fubo TV, and I'm not paying an extra $20 a month for this garbage. So English Premier League is now dead to me. I did go to the TFC game over the weekend, though.
Wow, what a game to go to, eh?
TFC is honestly, it's so much fun, and that's another problem that we're going to run into next year when all of a sudden MLS Soccer is on Apple TV, and then I'll never care about MLS Soccer ever again
It's
because
not
Apple
that
TV is
bad.
the most dirt worst service you'll ever have.
Our boy JP will tell you that it's not that bad. He'll tweet at you. He will find your tweets, and he will tell you that it's not that bad, and to stop bitching.
It is bad, and the reason why it's bad is because if you don't live in Apple's house, you're fucked. Like you can't watch it on an Android device. You can't watch it on a Samsung TV. You can't watch an LG TV because I have both a Samsung TV and an LG TV, and I can't watch it on either because there's no Apple TV app on either of them. Now maybe there would be now if I had a more recent TV that has more updated software, but I can't get one. And then I'm like, okay, fine. I will go on my laptop and I'll go to their stupid website and I'll watch it on my laptop, and then maybe I can just cast it to my TV. Oh no, Apple does not support Google Chrome or Google or Google Home or Chromecast. So like, I have no way of watching this game unless I pull up my laptop and watch it. So I'm done with
confirm
Apple TV.
There is an Apple TV app on Samsung.
Well, maybe a more recent one. My Samsung TV might be too old for it.
Do you want me to get you one? I'll steal it.
What, a Samsung TV?
Buddy, they're not hard.
I mean, we should discuss this later.
Okay. You
But
know what?
on
It'll be the post show.
right. But on Sunday, I went and saw Bullet Train, and
I wanna see it.
That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
I highly recommend this movie. I didn't know going in that I had no idea what the rating of the movie was because like I don't look at these things. Like I'm a grown adult. What do I care if it's an R movie or it's a G movie? I don't care. But as the movie was going, I was thinking to myself, this might be the first R-rated movie I've seen in theaters in quite some time. Because there's a lot of blood, and there was a lot of gore, and there was like sex scenes and stuff and nudity. I'm like, oh, okay, like this must be an R-rated movie. I just looked up on IMDb, it's 14A. I'm like, okay, like what do you have to do to be an R-rated movie?
In the theater, Dustin was going action movie, maybe like 14A or whatever, or like PG-13, and then like he saw the first like nudity, and he in his head he's like, titties.
In my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is an R-rated movie. I didn't realize this because I think with Bullet Train, other than like, if you go to the movies as often as I do, which is probably at least once every 3 weeks, we'll say, I would say for the past 6 months, every movie that I've seen in theaters, Bullet Train trailer. I'm like, okay, guys, I will see this movie. I probably would not have seen this movie if I hadn't seen the trailer 900 times before happening. But other than seeing that one trailer over and over and over and over again, I knew nothing about this movie.
They're pushing Brad Pitt, man. Market Brad Pitt. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, strap the rocket to him.
And not just Brad Pitt, but like that trailer was
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
It was Brad Pitt and then Bad Bunny. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Just because of Bad Bunny, I am 100% in.
This fucking guy complains about like, oh, hockey was off. I found something else to do, and he's like, oh, Bad Bunny's in a movie. I'm in. Fuck.
Wrong with Bad Bunny, man. He's won some Grammys. He's wrestled at WrestleMania. He's a huge international star. Is Bad Bunny? You know, Bad Bunny is probably one of the biggest WWE stars in the world right now.
He's no Logan Paul.
I mean, it's him and Logan Paul. That's got to be your 1-2.
Sad state of affairs for that company if that's your 1-2.
You know what? Also, the sad state of affairs is the Toronto Blue Jays right now. just free falling down those standings. It is absolutely terrifying. If it was a thrill ride at a theme park, the line would be 2 hours long. Everyone wants to be on this ride just for that steep drop that they're hitting right now. Last week, we didn't get to it on the podcast. I didn't put it in the lineup because I didn't know if we were going to have time, and we didn't. But my question to you guys, I wonder if I have it written down. Do I have it written down from last week? I do. I wrote down, what's more likely? The Jays miss the playoffs or the Jays catch the Yankees? Last week, I was almost in a position of thinking, you know what? They're playing okay right now. The Yankees are free falling as well. And the Jays, at the time, I think, were like 8 games back of the Yankees. I'm like, in a matter of a couple of weeks, they could have caught them. But after the last week that the Blue Jays have had, and they are currently sitting, well, I mean, they're currently playing right now against the Baltimore Orioles, and I fully expect them to lose this game. So let's say they are going to lose this game. They are only a half game ahead of the Baltimore Orioles for the last wildcard spot.
To be fair, the Baltimore Orioles are the best team in baseball since July 8th or 9th or something. They're like 23-5 or something. It's crazy. What?
I don't know, man. I feel like every time the Jays, they always have that, right? When they had that series against Seattle, it's like Seattle's the best team in baseball right now, and
they have run into that twice in a row, twice in a row, but twice this season. Here's the thing with the Jays: the Jays didn't do at the trade deadline what winning teams do. This is a league that severely overvalues prospects, and I've said this before. Do the math in the MLB. If you take the top 5 prospects from every MLB team, right? How many prospects is that? There's 30 teams?
Yeah, with top 27 rounds of drafting.
It's 150 players. You said top 5 prospects? Yeah. 150 players.
Right. In the last...
Well, not counting your own team, I guess, so 125.
Right. In the last...
100, whatever.
20 years.
Math.
In the last 20 years, how many generational, franchise-changing prospects have there been?
7. Maybe 8.
Okay, so off the top of my head, Mike Trout obviously was a big... I think he was like a first overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean, as you go over your point, I'll look it up.
Like Ohtani.
How about that?
Not including international signings like Ohtani.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Ohtani
just
wouldn't
off the
count.
top of your head, don't look it up. So let's talk. Trout, Harper, Judge.
You could say Tatis. Juan Soto.
Machado. Soto.
Christian Yelich.
Scherzer. Maybe Yelich. Maybe.
I would say Bellinger and also
Seager.
Arenado.
I would also go. God damn it, the guy from the Mets, first baseman Pete Alonso.
Right. So let's go there, and let's say
I would say a dozen is what you're getting at, max.
So take those 150, multiply that by the 30 years. Now there's going to be overlap because
30 years, or you mean 30 teams?
Take over the 125 because every year you're drafting new players, and new players come in and out of the rankings. So you think about how many players will go through that system and become nothing compared to the guys that do make it. The Jays are overvaluing their farm immensely right now. There is a 1 in a gajillion chance that any of those guys, including Gabe Moreno, becomes franchise-changing players. And they had an opportunity at Juan Soto, and they didn't do it. And I don't know if we could have matched the package that the Padres gave. I don't know. But the fact that we didn't act like winners, we didn't address the left-handed bat. Like I'm nothing against Whit Merrifield. He's exactly the type of guy we needed, but only if he batted left. And then there's Jose Barrios has been atrocious. And listen, I know you go into the playoffs, you need 3 starters. We have 2 as it stands right now. And the bullpen is still hot fucking garbage. There's no left-handed arm. They're going to call Aaron Loop.
what I think is interesting, if you, and I don't want to jump this far ahead. I don't know if the Blue Jays are going to make the playoffs, and that's kind of how I'm framing this question: is are they going to make the playoffs? But if they were to start the playoffs tomorrow and the Blue Jays are in, who's your rotation?
Well, it's Manoah.
I was Manoah's one.
Gossman's 2.
Gossman's 2.
Then Stripling's 3.
I was going to say, is it really Stripling? I think it has to be.
Chicken strips with the dips?
But there's no way they would do that to Barrios. Like, Barrios would be the third.
Then he
But
has
no,
to
at
remember
that
how to
point,
pitch.
It's about winning. It's not doing that to Barrios. You have to go in there and give yourself. They did it to R.A. Dickey. They'll
That was a
do it
different
to
regime, but also
Barrios.
they fucking signed this guy. They paid him money. The guy
He's
better
not
Google
performing.
how to pitch. YouTube tutorial, how to regain your pitch. Like that's
like I said a few weeks ago, or it might have even been last week. I don't know. Sports isn't about paying guys to put up numbers. Sports is about paying guys to win. If Barrios isn't performing and winning, he doesn't play in the playoffs. He's not in those first 3 starting positions. He's definitely not your your wild card game starter. There's no way.
and who else they got? They got Kikuchi, hey, and then Mitch White, hey.
Mr. White.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Which, I mean, he had an okay showing yesterday.
When he threw a
Both his-
strike,
Both his starts with the Blue Jays have been fine. Like, he's gone 4.1 or 4.2 innings on both appearances, which isn't a quality start. But, I mean, for your 5th starter and for a team that's struggled in that 5th spot, I mean, he's pitching better than Barrios and Kikuchi right now. So
who's the left-hander? Who's the leftander out of the pen that throws heat?
There isn't one.
Right, that's my point. Like, there's no, they don't have the elements of a team that's going to go deep, and that's what I mean. Going back to a conversation we used, I think they called it on the season. I think they said, "This is not our year."
I think they probably said we'll try, we'll see what we can do. If not, just regroup for next year.
But here's another thing, and I don't know. And another thing, I don't know how deep the talks with the Jays and Soto got and how close they were, but Springer is probably going to move to right because of his elbow, right? Like there's no chance that he stays in center. Like, they're going to protect his health by moving him to right. I don't think Teo's staying. I don't think they're going to pay. So he's probably gone after next year. They should have, like, Soto could have played center.
Well, I mean, yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Right?
think
I understand shoulda, woulda, coulda, but like it feels right now like maybe again, not maybe, of course I am. I have a lack of foresight into what their plans are and how they're assessing things and blah blah blah.
Sure.
But it feels at least from our end like an oversight to some of these things. Like they can say, well, we didn't know Springer. No, Springer's been off and on injury. Teo is you're not going to pay. They're not going to pay Teo $25-30 million. Somebody will. So, because they still have to pay Bichette and Vladdy that they haven't paid.
Well, that's the thing is,
will they pay Bichette?
Bichette kind of held up in his comments of being like, kind of what I'm worth and whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not long for this team. As much as that sucks, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not here for too long.
I think we're also looking at this the wrong way in terms of like how much this team is willing to spend. I think they will spend. And of course, it depends on the players and whether they want to stay here or not. And that's an entirely different conversation. But I think when it comes to Bichette and when it comes to not necessarily Teo, and I can see your point of them maybe not willing to pay him, but I think Vladdy and Bo will get as much money as they're willing to ask for, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
here in Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two I could see, but like, I don't know, like Teo and Lourdes, both, they're going to come out back to back. They're going to come up, right? So again, Soto had all these years of control. I mean, at least as much left as Lourdes. No, he had one more than Lourdes because he has 2 years after this year. And Lourdes has Teo's next year and Lourdes is the year after. So I think that's right. So the window, and again, that goes back. The window for this iteration of the Blue Jays is potentially very small. So I don't know again,
Teo is up this year, but he's arbitration eligible next year. Lourdes is same situation, so he's under contract next year, but the year after he's arbitration eligible. So
yeah, what I said
they're
was
still kind of sort of under team control, but not really. It all depends on how that goes. The arbitration by that.
yeah. So you're gonna lose your outfield.
Teo's gonna get paid in arbitration.
Yeah, and Lourdes might too. Lourdes might not get paid the same way Teo does, but it might be more than the Jays can stomach.
Right. I think Lourdes will probably get. He's making 5.8 this year, so he's probably going to get at least a $10 million.
I was going to say I peg him around anywhere between 17 and 20.
I don't know about 20. I would say around 15, but it doesn't matter. But yes, he's going to get a significant raise, and that money has to come out of somewhere. Whit Merrifield is due $18 million in 2024. What?
But that's what I mean, right? Like these guys are going to look at Whit Merrifield and go, where's my money? And the Jays didn't pay him, but they are now.
How about that Hyunjin Ryu deal where he's due $20 million next year? That's
$20 million to not play.
Yeah. I want that deal. Can someone pay me $20 million to not play baseball?
And I will take that. Even when we did play, it was 5 innings, and then he was like, "Okay, guys, it's time for some cervezas and some food, and I'm out of here. I'm gonna go have a shower, go for a dip."
Yeah, all that sounds like a great idea. But
it's the dream.
I see where you're coming from, James. Where it didn't feel like the Blue Jays felt like they could win this year.
It felt like they didn't invest. It felt like they didn't invest.
Right. Like from our outside perspective, looking at the moves they made in the deadline, it didn't inspire a lot of confidence that they expected to play well into October. Additionally, also who is not going to be playing in October is Fernando Tatis Jr., who was given an 80-game suspension earlier this week for using or testing positive, I suppose, for performance-enhancing drugs. This is an interesting one. So Tatis tested positive for clusterball. I don't know if I'm even saying that right, but essentially it is a steroid-like thing. It slowly rebuilds muscle, similar to what a normal steroid would do. Which also makes sense if you look at it under the lens of he's on the injured list, he's working to get back to the team. Theoretically, you can understand why someone who is recovering from an injury may be using a substance like this. According to Fernando, he said it was a mistake. He said it was a mistake that led to this positive test. He inadvertently took a medication to treat ringworms that contained clusterball. And again, no idea if I'm saying that right. And he then somewhat took responsibility in saying I should have, checked the resources and understood that it was a banned substance, and he failed to do so. So there's two angles at this.
Whoa, pump the brakes.
One.
Whoa, pump the brakes.
Go on.
Did you hear about his dad?
His dad said it was for like a hair thing.
Yeah, his dad said he was getting a haircut.
Oh, no.
And he used a spray for the fungus.
Well, see, that's the thing. So I see what you're trying to get at. Like maybe their stories are conflicting, but a fungus is what creates the ringworms.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying, like his dad jumping in now saying it's a haircut, like it was from a haircut. Like, dude, who are you getting your haircut by? Edward Scissorhands? Like, what the fuck?
I want to be fair to Fernando that maybe.
Which one?
Maybe. So what they were trying to say here is that he took the steroid to clear up the ringworms that were created by a fungus that came from the Edward Scissorhand haircut.
I feel like you have to go too far down, like a street to get to that point.
So
I'm just saying, there's a through line there. That's all I'm saying.
The steroid is entirely possible because like you use steroid creams, like those are real things for like people with eczema use steroid creams, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that for other fungi and fungi related issues, you would use some sort of steroid antibiotic or steroid something, right? However,
Yeah, but as an athlete, though, you have to do your due diligence to make sure what you're putting into your body, right?
According to
On your
WebMD,
body.
so
here we
I
go.
did look some of this up on so if you have ringworms on your scalp, which makes sense based on the haircut,
okay,
OTC, which I assume means over the
over
counter,
the counter, yeah.
Yeah.
treatment may not be enough. Your doctor will write you a prescription for an antifungal medication that you'll have to take by mouth for 1 to 3 months, and then it gives you a list of medications that are
By
usually
mouth.
prescribed by
No
your.
spray.
Then it gives you a list of medications that are typically recommended by a physician when treating a scalp ringworm. None of them are clostrable.
So okay, there's also a thing that where he wrote clostebol and there's the one called clostebol or something. Like there's two different things too that people are getting confused. So like it's all over the place and it's a mess, man. Who was that guy that got busted for taking like shark hormones or something? Like in the NFL last year, remember someone got busted for taking like bear? They're taking like bear or something. Like
Oh,
bear.
it's like some bear tranquilizer or some shit.
Yeah, who was taking the bear tranquilizer?
Oh, I vaguely remember this.
I wonder what kind of ringworm that dude had.
While Dustin looks that up, the point is at the end of the day, you do need to, as an athlete, you're under a different kind of segment when it comes to medication.
Expectation.
Yeah, you have to understand that you can't just go off the rail and say, go to some random doctor, be like, yeah, take this, because that doctor probably doesn't know what is or isn't banned as part of the MLB CBA, right? Team doctors will. And I'm assuming that's what he meant by I should have verified the resources or gone to the resources available to me. He probably did this away from a team doctor and got fucked. Or he took it knowingly and then just is trying to blame ringworm.
So I looked it up, and supposedly there's an online rumor that DeAndre Hopkins took beaver tranquilizer.
Yes.
But this supposedly was false, and it was a reference to a movie. So
That's still funny.
It was a dodgeball reference, supposedly.
But here's the thing too. You know, Fernando Tatis played this smart. You might be thinking, how? The man took responsibility, said, I should have done this, blah, blah, blah. I'll eat my suspension and see y'all next year. Man wasn't playing this year. He wasn't playing this year. So he's going to eat the 8-game suspension this year. And he's going to look like a hero for being responsible. And he's not going to go through the same shit that dude... What was that dude from...
Ryan Braun.
Ryan Braun. He's not going to go through the Braun shit.
Lloyd Braun.
So, and he's going to come out next year. Though, you know, as a sports card investor, though, I got to tell you. So I read a stat that Fernando Tatis, as like a market in the hobby, has like lost like something like $3 million in value. Like he's like his cards, his rookie cards, his autos and stuff have tanked because no one's going to see him for a year. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy how this affects other things, but like I got to say the dude for the position he's in, the dude played it smart. And that's what the same thing I would have done. I would have been like, yeah, man, my fault. See you next year.
But if you're a teammate of Tatis, how pissed off are you? Like they go out and get Soto, they have Machado, you know, they have all these pieces. They look primed to take a step and bam. You know, and he's supposed to be the corner piece of that team.
I mean, he's oft injured. So, I mean,
but that's the point.
Right, but maybe in a weird way.
So he's injured so often. It's like now you're just doing more to just fuck this up.
Right, but maybe in a weird way, just stay away for the balance of the year and get healthy at the same time. Like play all of next year. Maybe that's, you know, Soto's going to be there. All those guys are going to be there. You know, same like what the Jays could have done. Like even if the Jays didn't win this year, the window would still be open. But I don't know. I also feel like at some point you're right. Like, I mean, is it going to get to the point where these guys can't get treatment for shit too? Like, if he actually needed it, like, is there a non-steroid alternative, or does this man just have to live with a ringworm? Like,
no, so that's the thing. Like, I mean, at least of the 3 medications that I saw on WebMD, none of them appear to be a steroid. I could be wrong about that. Obviously, I haven't read all the ingredients of all these.
But even for other things, you've got to
drugs?
assume that other things, like if the steroid option is the option, do you think MLB's like, nah, sorry, bro. Like, what if steroids cured cancer? And like a guy was like, yeah, no, and they were like,
Aaron Judge or Mike Trout gets some kind of pancreatic cancer, and they're saying, hey,
sorry,
this will cure it. Do you think, but that's an exceptional case where they'd be like,
Suspended.
this is different?
So here's the thing.
Well, I mean, they would say, take it, we'll suspend you because you're not going to play during treatment anyway. So during your treatment, you're serving your suspension.
okay, let's say it's something else that's not like that. I don't know. Let's make up a new thing.
Okay, but here's the crux of the issue.
Right.
He's on the injured list. So regardless of what the injury is or what a sickness could be or whatever, he's currently on the injured list.
So they should activate him and serve the suspension upon activation and not during injured list.
But then he becomes then he becomes an active member of the roster, I think, in a roster spot.
On the injured list, not currently playing, hasn't played at all this season. Okay. Is it a performance enhancing drug if he's not playing?
What's a man cheating at? What's he cheating at?
Who is he cheating?
Right.
He's cheating from recovering from an injury to get back to the team sooner? Now, if he comes back to the team and then he's still using the steroids, understandable, suspendable offense, he is now cheating. But if he's not currently playing the game, how is he cheating?
Why did they test this man anyway?
That was my first thought, is why are you testing an injured player? But I think at the same time, though, that's probably his thinking is, I'm injured, they're not going to test me if it was something intentional. And I think the whole point is that because he's injured, there is a likelihood that he may take something. So they're like, test him.
Maybe, but again,
like you can see the logic from both sides.
But again, like you said, who's he cheating, right? Like I think baseball's overcompensating for the years that they just let steroids go free, and it wasn't like there's a weird misalignment in baseball still where steroids weren't illegal and then they were, and they punished people who took them when they weren't. Like I'm forever on the Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame train. The guy was the best fucking baseball player, like outside of steroids.
Well, you still got to hit the ball.
Yeah, steroids don't make you have contact, and fucking Roger Clemens took them too. So the whole like, well, hitters and fielding, because pitchers took them. So like the only reason Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame is because the man's an asshole to the press, and the press is the one who votes you in. But
next question.
But it's not.
And maybe Barry Bonds will appear at the end of our show when we talk about the top 5 most hated athletes of all time.
But not on my list. Not on my list.
Well, it's not on my list either, so never mind.
I'm a Barry Bonds guy. So I'm a Barry Bonds guy. I'm not an A-Rod guy.
Fuck it, no man. A-Rod, whatever. He brokered those deals. Good on him. He was a businessman.
There were people who denied it in, like Rafael Palmeiro denied it in court, and then said he misremembered.
Hold on, no. Let me hold on. Give me 1 sec. Okay, everyone, stop talking. I didn't take steroids. Period. I remember that. Rafael Palmeiro in front of Congress.
Yeah, misremembered. Mark McGwire. Hey, you know what? Say what you want about Mark McGwire. The man was very vague. he didn't say.
No, but like I will say this: if it wasn't for steroids, baseball in the late '90s, 2000s is boring as fuck.
Yeah, but steroids saved baseball. I wrote a paper on
the
it.
Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire. I remember my mom, who is not a baseball fan, was watching baseball games because of the race between Sosa and McGwire.
Dude, I wrote an entire college paper on it, and I got an A on it because I showed from left to right the era, the revenue, all this stuff, and how steroids save baseball. And I mean, like, it's obviously a concept, but to show the effect that it had on baseball at the time, you okay?
Yeah, I dropped something.
Sounds like he's falling apart over there.
I know, right?
No, trust me. I just dropped a pen. I didn't have messed up audio for an hour and a half. So,
hey, woo. Dick. So the, I don't know. It's weird that baseball would hate the thing so much that saved it from basically obscurity. Because if it wasn't for the Maris chase, baseball was dead.
You know, what was crazy is that Ken Griffey Jr. hit like 56 home runs that year when McGuire and Sosa were banging out
Nobody
70.
talks about that.
No one talks about Griffey.
Did McGuire hit 70? I thought he got to 65.
70s where he got.
Oh, it's 70.
Oh, did he?
Sosa
Yeah, he
hit
was 70.
63.
I think Sosa was 68 or something like
63.
that.
I
Sure.
will say this though. Griffey's still a better player than both of them.
I don't think anyone would ever doubt that because Griffey was
5-tool player.
he was a 5-tool guy. He could hit for power, hit for contact.
Run.
He had speed. He had fielding.
Defense, hell of
and-
defense.
And
what am I missing? An arm. Like he had it all. Whereas McGuire did not have speed.
Remember McGuire in Oakland? How small he was. Same with Bonds in, I think Oakland as well.
No, Bonds was in San Diego.
San
Francisco.
San Francisco.
No, before
that. Pirates. He was
before-
a Pirate.
It's Pirates, yeah. But the before and after the steroids pictures of those guys is hilarious. It's absolutely like just Bonds' head alone.
But the thing is, though, go back and look at all the guys. Jason Giambi, that guy was a balloon. They're like,
Look, I think I put in the Discord this week. I was like, Ken Griffey Jr. is a beast. Like the guy looks like he's jacked up now. Like back when he was playing, he just looked like a lanky, very smooth swinging
he's a
guy.
little chonky now.
But
That's
now
just
he
swinging
looks
baseball.
like he's benching 450.
yeah.
Well, also too though, like Griffey could probably still strap in as DH and crank dingers for a team.
Frank Thomas was huge. Jose Canseco,
Frank?
massive. Cecil
Yeah,
Fielder,
but Canseco never hid his steroid taking really. Like he never outwardly talked about it, but when everyone got booked and he started, and the heat started coming, he was just like, yeah, whatever. I took steroids. Fuck it.
yeah, mad respect like to Jose Canseco for that. Like the guy's a piece of shit. But when they came down to like steroids, he was like, yeah, did it. Yeah, that was me for sure. We were all doing them, of course.
He's like, yeah, I shot him up in the back, right in the ass. They're like, sir, we meant steroids. He's like, oh, sorry.
You know who else is huge? Serena Williams, who called it quits, or officially, in some way, has officially somewhat retired. I'm not sure how that
she's doing the
statement
Albert
went.
Pujols
It seemed like she was going to retire.
No, she's finishing she's saying this is like her year. This is like her swan song.
Right, like this is the retirement tour year. I think it's fair to say, in terms of women's tennis, or maybe even tennis in general, I don't know if there's ever going to be a more prolific athlete or winning, or someone who wins more than Serena Williams.
That might be in sport, not just tennis. Like in
Well, that's-
individual sport.
Okay, I was going to say that's fair because I don't.
How many?
She
how
just
many-
wins so it's
many
ridiculous. You
tournaments
look
did
at
she win?
okay, Australian Open, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times won the Australian Open. French Open 3 times. Wimbledon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Wimbledon. U.S. Open 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. U.S. Open.
Like
That's obscene.
she has won more at a single major at her lowest count, which would be the French Open, than most tennis players even sniff a quarterfinal.
And those tournaments that I was counting, that's just singles.
Yes.
She's
that's what I was gonna say,
She's
too.
won
Those
an
are just
Australian
ma-
Open, French Open, Wimbledon, U.S. Open, all in doubles.
And those
as
are
well.
just majors.
At least once.
Yeah.
So like, what about little tournament? Like, how many tournaments has she won in totality?
Yeah, like not even including majors. Like the butt fuck like Capital One Pro-Am.
Like the Rogers.
So if you're, according to Wikipedia, singles titles, 73. and then doubles is 23.
how many?
So
how many tournaments
she
did Jack
has
Nicklaus?
hold on, she has
100.
96 between doubles and singles.
Yes.
I was gonna say I'll do the math for you. It's okay. You struggled earlier. So
Oh man, I've been real struggling with math today. I tried to subtract 5
so-
from 150 and came up with 125 somehow.
How many majors did Jack Nicklaus win?
17.
Was it?
I'll take Maddie's word for that because he knows more about golf than I do. But that sounds right.
It's either 17 or 18. I'll look it up. Continue.
How many
on.
majors did Serena Williams win? Because I think those are two good gauges in individual sport.
It's more than 17. It's definitely more. Like if you take just singles, or are we counting doubles as well?
Singles. And then how many gold medals did Michael Phelps have? Or how many medals did Michael Phelps have?
23 single Grand Slam championships for Serena Williams. She only has 4 Olympic gold medals.
18 for Jack Nicklaus.
So she has him beat.
Yep.
And then, so what about...
Phelps is different though, because that's an every 4-year thing. And it's like, if you win one event, like for swimming and dominate it, you're typically going to dominate every other swimming event you're in.
Yeah, so like his output for like his potential output for medals, if he's the best swimmer in the world at that year, what is it like? He can win 4 swimming
he can win 4
competitions
in a day.
Yeah, he can
right?
win.
Whereas Serena can only win 2 gold medals at each Olympics, which she did in 2012 in London. She won the singles and the doubles, but I guess she was,
it, yeah.
I guess she was just the piece of shit in 2008 and 2000. Only won the double gold medal. Like,
So
wow, slacking it. She took it off.
she's, and I mean, we're talking here about individual. Like, she's got to be up there in the conversation, and probably at the top of greatest female athlete, right?
No, not even female. Like, I think she's in the conversation for, like, in the top 5 greatest athletes of all time. Like, hands down. How do you
would say top 5 most dominant performers in their
absolutely.
sport.
Like, I would
In
say
their
on
sport
that
or
list,
in sport?
in sport. Because, like, on that list to me of, like, most dominant athletes is you're going to have Tom Brady, just because the sheer amount of wins in a, you know, as a quarterback in Super Bowls is obscene. No one's ever going to hit that. And then Michael Jordan, Serena, Tiger, and then your 5th is probably interchangeable between.
But is Tiger ahead of Jack?
I would say in the era that Tiger played, there was more competition. So yes, Tiger may only have 13, 14 majors, but he also had to go against much higher competition than Jack Nicklaus did at the time.
In a fairly short period of time too, right?
Yes. Like, that's over Nicklaus's whole career. And also, man, Tiger won that US Open, what was it, like 8 years ago, on that absolutely exploded knee. Like, and then the dude won that Masters a couple years ago. You know, like, I just think I hate doing the era adjusted wins or the era adjusted performances. It's kind of hard, but I think for golf you can do it, or individual sports you can kind of do it more than a team sport, right? Because like Gretzky in the 80s, you know, if you were, then everyone goes to the argument, well, if he has access to the nutrition and the training that all the players do now, then it's different. No, as an individual sport, when you literally have no one else to rely on but yourself, it's easier to kind of look at the comparison between eras and accept it a little easier than it is in team sports. So that's why I think you can look at it, Tiger's the greatest ever. Because also too, back when Nicklaus played, guys were just regular dudes who go out, play a lot, practice a lot, and just be naturally good at the game.
So then this is what I'm going to say about Serena. The same could somewhat be said about Serena. I don't know that the competition for female tennis though was super high during Serena Williams' tenure. It's definitely not the same as the men.
The men is ridiculous. Like at one point you had Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and the dude from England. What's his name? Andy Murray. Right? Like that's just the top 4 alone. And it was always relatively those guys. And then you had, you know, the next 6 to 10 guys that were kind of always floating around there as well.
The guys that led into that. Remember Pete Sampras?
Yeah, Agassi, Sampras,
yeah.
McEnroe,
Roddick.
But that was all like before the time of Nadal and Federer.
Yeah,
that was just at the beginning of like.
Yeah.
I think Federer was what, like 18, 19 then, like just coming in.
Yeah, so I'm not saying Serena isn't. I'm just saying, like, is she so good that she's better than everybody else by that delta, or was the competition just not at a competitive level? Like, is it top down or is it bottoms up?
Yeah, I think when you, like what we just said, where we're looking back at the era of men's tennis, we're talking about the Federer and Nadal era. We're not talking about the Serena Williams and
everybody else.
Maria Sharapova era. We're talking about the Serena Williams era.
Yeah.
Like, you could arguably say maybe Venus, but it's still not even close, I don't think.
No.
No.
I think there's also with Serena, you could argue though that just the sheer presence and domination of what she did, people probably just felt defeated going into tournaments anyway. It was a battle for second.
And coming back after kids, the way she did.
And still winning majors like nobody's business coming back after having the kids.
That's actually a really good point. That's a wrinkle that we don't have to deal with as men.
No, not
It's
physically,
a lot
right?
bigger wrinkle than I'm making it sound like. But
You only got to deal with your wife chasing you with a 9-iron and being hopped up and crashing a car into a tree.
The physical
that was
recovery,
a good South Park episode.
The physical recovery is something that we'll never understand, right? So
Yeah.
to go back and to be top tier,
Not just perform, dominate.
Tier. Yeah, it's quite
Right?
incredible. So
I think it's an easy case to make as a top 5. I mean, you could make strong arguments for any of those top 5 to be the number 1, and you would probably come out of that argument or discussion with anybody feeling, like whoever you came to a decision with on that day would be relatively fair. But I just think that not enough people give her the love in that top group that she should get from the wider sports world. Because like if you were to sit down, and I mean, I'm gonna say it, if you sit down 20 guys and you say, name your top 5 most dominant athletes of all time, I guarantee you 18 of those guys minimum don't even have her in the top 5.
and they're wrong. But my next question on the whole thing is, what does women's tennis look like after Serena? Like
Wide open
or no bueno? Like, is it gonna?
No, it's wide open competition wise, but in terms of marketing, it's gonna be tough because she could carry, especially a U.S. Open and a Wimbledon. You get her like Serena on a Wimbledon final on that Sunday in the all white in the center court on the grass. That's an iconic moment that people want to see, right? It's Serena at the U.S. Open final in her home country. That's something people want to see, right? Now it's just like the number 1's going to be changing every tournament.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, here's your pedestal, here's your standard, and everyone's just climbing to the top. Now it's just, you have a bunch of people that are on the cusp and they're just kicking each other around.
It's going to be golf now.
Yeah. Well, that's something we're going to have to get into with Cameron Smith eventually going, now that he went to live and all these guys going to live. It's going to be interesting. Going into next golf season, not right now because like it's still being played out. I think during the off season of golf, so the 3 weeks they're actually off, is when you'll start kind of having a really good idea. But yeah,
I know, super off topic, but I think one of the coolest things about live golf right now is having the country club adjacent guys all just there at the media scrums, and they're there to messing with all the guys as they're trying to tee off. It's fantastic.
It's great. Honestly, I will say that has been, and I'm a thing about the prestige of the green jacket and, the Open Championship.
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit?
Okay, we also like talked about the whole Serena thing earlier this week. You're like, I'm not a tennis guy, whatever. So like, shut up.
That's just
the Happy Gilmore reference again.
Yeah, okay.
But what I'm saying is I that's been one of the most refreshing things about live, is that it's not the stick up the ass reporters.
Yeah.
It's people having fun. Like the people listening, like the guys in Vietnam that we know are listening, big shout out to you guys. If you haven't had a chance to go to Instagram and check out the content from the country club adjacent guys, it is absolutely fantastic shit. Like the fact that they had Bryson on there, and I'm not like a big Bryson guy, but it kind of gave me a new level of respect for the dude when I heard him on their podcast, that they're just like, yo, how much was it? And he's joking around about how much money he made on live and stuff. Like it's a window, or it's a road into athletes or into a sport that typically was very, prim and proper, cut and dry. So check it out because they're hilarious.
Yeah, not to go too much down the live path, but the product itself is an interesting, inviting product. right?
It's a good idea.
It invites you in. The product itself is decent. No, it's not bad. I personally like the concept of teams. I like the idea of there being a team championship and a singles championship in competitions. I mean, I'm not a fan of where the funding comes from. I'm not a fan of who runs it and all that stuff. But you know, if this product was provided by fucking Disney, would there be the same vitriol? Right? Like, is like what I'm wondering is sport washing the issue, which it should be, or are people just mad that it's just not the PGA, right? Like, and guys are ducking for money. Like, would people be mad if guys were ducking for money if it was Disney money? I think they'd be as mad.
I think any company is gonna have shady funding from wherever they come from. It's just
PGA included.
What?
PGA included.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The money they take from companies that are totally sus is probably
rather large.
The difference is these companies are not as overt as the Saudis are, where their money comes from.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just saying, like, again, arguing the other side of it would
no.
People...
I think there's good concepts from Live. I think there's good ideas that are there. It's just I don't think they figured out how to apply those ideas in the best way possible yet. But again, that's trial and error. That's anything.
Yeah, that's going to take time, and these guys have countless dollars to burn. I like how they have like reporters like mid round, like, you know, they'll approach and guys will talk like mid hole. They'll be interviewed, which is kind of neat. So you can get a different, like you said, a different perspective into mentality of these guys, not after the round. You can get it after he hits a shitty shot, you know, which is kind of cool. But yeah, you can tell. The funny thing is, all the people that have gone are all of the same. They're all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah,
like all the villains. All the villains went to Live.
Cameron Smith's not really a villain though. Like he just won.
True.
You know no one really didn't like him. It's just I'm not gonna lie though. You throw 300 sheets in front of me, man. I'd be like, peace. I'm gone.
Well. Speaking of throwing up some deuces, we had an interesting tweet from Antonio Brown this week.
Hold on. Before you get into it, that was a fantastic segue.
It's literally in the quote. So
I know.
That just worked out very well. I was searching the internet trying to find out that this was fake. I was thinking, there is no way he actually said this. Because, okay, so when the tweet came out, it's a picture of Antonio Brown. And beside it is a bunch of text, like it's a quote.
Imagine if it was like from an Antonio Brown quote generator, where it just took a bunch of random words. You hit
generate. Like an AI generated quote?
Yeah.
It looks like one of those things that would be shared on Facebook and that, like, your grandmother would send to you and be like, oh, look, Celine Dion's dead. You know, it's like that's what it looked like. So I'm like, okay, no way this guy said this. And then when I found out where the image originated from, it was from Antonio Brown's verified Twitter account. So I'm like, okay, well then I guess it's legitimate. On Facebook. And it's been a few days and he hasn't come out and said it's not true. So I'm going to assume he said this.
Do you want to read it?
So I'm going to read what Antonio Brown tweeted on August the 11th. My biggest regret in my career doesn't involve calling my GM a cracker or showing up to Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet. That was a really fun episode of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Or throwing rocks at that UPS driver. And it definitely doesn't involve taking off my shirt and doing a victory lap around the Jet Stadium mid-game while throwing up deuces. My biggest regret is that I'll never get to see me, Antonio Brown, play a game live. Sure, I can watch the game afterwards, but I can't imagine that was like this doesn't make any sense. But I can't imagine what that was like for you all to see something like that, like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rocks.
How many shows did Jesus perform at Red Rocks?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, there's a lot to unpack here,
did the Beatles
but I feel like we
perform at
need to
Red
start with Jesus performing at Red Rocks.
Yeah, how
Maybe
did
then
the Beatles
Jesus,
do?
and there's some like guitarist named Jesus.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure the Beatles never. I don't think Red Rocks was a thing when the Beatles were a thing. So
I mean, didn't Incubus play at Red Rocks? Didn't they do like a whole video?
South
of them
Park was
playing
just
at Red
there.
Rocks?
South Park just did the concert from there the other night. But there's a lot to, there's a lot to unpack there, and there's really not a lot to unpack there. The guy's nuts. The guy's always been nuts, and if Brady couldn't straighten him out, then he's just nuts. Like I've never where was his career? He played in Pittsburgh.
Majority of his career, he played in Pittsburgh. And then after that blew up, I think he spent a year, not even a year, like a few games with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Because he just went where Brady was. And then after that, he spent the next 2 years again with Brady in Tampa. But again, has not played a full season since 2018. And that was Pittsburgh.
He's a moron. Like, that's not... Like,
the worst thing is
half the people didn't get to watch
talent.
him play because he barely played.
Oh, and actually, you know what? I forgot about I think it was 2019 when he played the one game for the New England Patriots. That was the year he signed with I don't know if he signed or got traded or whatever, but he was with the Oakland Raiders.
Mm.
And that was that Hard Knocks season where he had the frozen
helmet.
feet and and the whole thing. This guy is
helmet.
Okay, so there's two angles. Well, I mean, there's a number of angles to this, but like, I want to somewhat be careful because I think there may be some significant mental health issues with Antonio Brown. So I don't want to dunk on him too much because I hope nothing bad ever happens to the guy, and I hope he lives a long life, and and I don't want to have to go back like years later and see us like shitting on the guy when clearly he's crying for help. And I hope that's not what this is. I hope he's just having fun and he's self-aware enough to know that he's joking and he doesn't actually mean any of this shit. I hope he's not serious.
No, he's serious.
Right?
The guy took off his shirt and bailed in mid-game. Like, he's through the end zone. Like, he's never been, actually, he was actually pretty quiet his first couple years in Pittsburgh.
So that's what I was going to get to. Should we, okay, as a Baltimore Ravens fan, so it's hard for me to like praise the Pittsburgh Steelers for anything, but should we retroactively go back and give Mike Tomlin Coach of the Year every year from 2010 to 2018? Because he had to deal with Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown all in the same offense, and he built a successful team around those three divas.
Did they win? They won a Super Bowl in that time frame, did they not?
I think they won one.
2018?
I can look it up, but
no, I think it was like 2017.
I mean, I'm sure one of us can look it up, but like the fact that Tomlin had to deal with all of those guys,
yeah,
and whether they won a Super Bowl or not, they were still a successful team in the NFL. Steelers have always been a competitive team for as long as I can remember.
Steel curtain.
And Antonio Brown would have been a big part of those teams. Obviously, Roethlisberger is the cornerstone of that offense for a long time, and Paul Malone on defense. But Antonio Brown, when he was with the Steelers and when he was rolling, like if you look at his stats from 2013 to 2018, he averaged, and I'm doing the math in my head, but he probably averaged 1,500 yards every single year and averaged 10 touchdowns a year.
That's massive.
That's a Hall of Fame like career. He was on pace. Right. On pace for a Hall of Fame career without breaking a sweat. And then he just goes right into crazy town.
No, but he decided to fuck off for a year or two because he said he wanted to get, was it him that wanted to get paid? Or was that Le'Veon Bell that said, I think it was Le'Veon Bell actually maybe. Said, I'm not putting my life on the line.
And that's what I mean with having to deal with Bell, Brown, and Roethlisberger all in the same offense.
But Bell's reasoning was actually good. He's like, I'm not putting my life on the line unless you're going to pay me. Because this man was running into people head first.
And
right?
That's, I think, totally fair. And I think that's why a lot of NFL players are looking to get extensions on their deals long before their deal's even over.
Guaranteed.
Because any second they step out on that field, that could be the end of their career.
Yeah.
Well, running backs have the shortest shelf life of any athlete in any sport.
Right.
right? Like, I mean, you have what, 3 good years of like legitimately top-notch productivity?
Unless you're like
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson or Adrian Peterson like recently.
No, LaDainian Tomlinson extended
Had a
it a
career,
little longer
yeah.
than most guys.
Frank Gore.
Frank Gore. I mean, the sad thing is we might be seeing the not stark, but a beginning of the decline of Derrick Henry, and he's had 2-3 years and just riddled with injuries as well, too, right? But
yeah, like look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, right?
yeah, but the sad thing is with Brown is the immense talent the dude had, and if he just kept it together, and he's like, all right, I'm just gonna put in the work, keep my mouth shut, the dude would have multiple rings. Whether it was with Pittsburgh, whether it was with that year in New England or whatever.
Well, contenders would have acquired him. Contenders would have wanted to get him.
Yeah.
Like he would have been the type of piece that contenders would have gotten to put them over the top and then win championships. You're right. He probably would be a multi-Super Bowl champion, maybe not with the Steelers, but probably other teams.
He'd probably go down as one of the greatest receivers in the NFL ever.
So I just looked it up. The last Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl was a year before Antonio Brown arrived. So it was in 2009, I believe. Antonio Brown showed up in 2010. So he did not win a Super Bowl with the Steelers, but he did win a Super Bowl with the
Patriots?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by, of course, Tom Brady. So he does have one ring to his name.
Yeah, because he signed at like near the end of that season, played, and then the full season he was supposed to play, where he complained about his ankle, is the one where he walked off.
So that's probably why I blended Antonio Brown into the Steelers championship, because he came right after.
Yes.
Yeah, it was 08 against.
I've already closed that, but it was Arizona Cardinals in 2008.
Yeah,
so he came like 2 years later.
Also, Madden comes out at the end of this week, so.
Is anyone gonna buy that? Because I'm not.
No, because it'll come out in 3 months on Game Pass.
No, it won't be on Game Pass in 3 months.
Yes, it will.
It'll be end of the it'll be in February. It'll be on Game Pass. When the season's over.
Are we taking bets right now? Do we want to take a bet on when Madden ends up on Game Pass?
When has any ever sport ended up on Game Pass in the season?
I'm just saying, man, with this new agreement between EA and Xbox, you're going to start seeing it earlier and earlier.
You think so?
Yeah.
And NHL came out, I think, in April.
No.
That's way later.
Not on
the game
Game
comes
Pass.
out. The game came out in October last year.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that would be, 6 months later.
Yeah. So, like, you'll probably see Madden on Game Pass within 4 months at the earliest, and at the latest 6, 7.
Then the season's over. That's what I'm saying. It'll be out like close to the end of the season. You want to know? Get Boxing Day. Boxing Day, that shit's always 50% off.
Oh
Always.
yeah.
So that's what.
I'm okay with playing Madden 22 until I get Madden 23 for free on Game Pass.
It's the same game.
It's literally the same game every single year. And the best football video game of all time is NFL 2K5.
I was gonna say NFL Blitz.
No.
NFL Blitz is actually right up there. Those power bombs were vicious.
Yeah, or like the Mortal Kombat bone breaking moments.
Oh,
you guys need to play 2000? NFL 2K5.
Yeah.
Wasn't T.O. on the cover of that one?
He is on the cover of that one.
And Chris Berman did the halftime show.
Chris Berman did do the halftime show.
I remember
that game was amazing.
That game was good.
Didn't we play that at Bills a lot?
No, we played it at home. We played in the other room, the room we had the Xbox set up in, next to Brian and Mom's room.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Where the PS2 was.
Yeah. You mean my room?
No, your room was the other room.
Oh, whatever.
Good times.
All right. Well, Antonio Brown, I was using as a segue because I feel like he may appear on someone's list for top 5 most hated athletes of all time. Now, James, I didn't explain this to you. Maddie and I briefly talked about it while you were trying to fix the garbage truck that was on fire. Which
may not even be fixed. We don't know.
So we are going to list our top 5 most hated sports figures, I guess is the way that we wrote it. It doesn't have to be an athlete, I suppose. But I want to add one extra caveat. You don't have to follow it, but this is something I followed and Maddie said he followed, but I can't confirm because I don't know his list. The rule that I put in place was that I'm trying to stay away from guys. I'm trying to only judge their behavior within the confines of sports. So if we're saying, oh, this guy's hated because he's a murderer, like Aaron Hernandez, is like, well, this is going to be a pretty quick and easy list. This name off all the criminals that have played sport at some point. So that's what I try to avoid. I try to avoid anything away from the realm of their profession.
And are these people that we hate or we think are hated?
Oh no, this is my personal list.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Maddie, do you want to go first?
Sure. So we'll go round table.
5 first.
Number 5? Oh, I didn't order these, but okay.
How do you not have an order? There's got to be someone on that list you hate more than the others.
Yeah,
okay.
I hate them all equally. I don't discriminate. Okay. So number 5 for me is because I hate him like strictly for what I've seen him do, but how he plays and shit like that. But I also understand that in this sport, it kind of needs to be that way. So I kind of have like a monicum of respect for him. Brad Marchand. And
I knew it. I knew someone was going to say Brad Marchand.
And it's just, he's so easy to hate. And because he's got so much talent, and yet he just regresses back to this stupid child, like licking people, biting people, the cheap shots, the coming in after the whistle, and like not just scrumming around, but like spearing guys and doing stupid shit. And that would bother me, and I would probably just kind of dismiss him if he was just like some fourth or third liner. But the fact that he's such a top line player, 30 goal scorer, and can still score doing all that shit stress me nuts. I just want someone to run him through the boards one day. But he's the number 5 on my list.
James?
I'm gonna go. Okay, these aren't ranked specifically because obviously the time.
Well, they should be.
Well, I'm gonna go with Bud Selig.
Oh.
That guy with like the amount of like shit that guy put in front of like baseball, like just stuff that doesn't make sense. Like there are things that he could have done, you know, to like Pete Rose should be in the fucking Hall of Fame. Like there again,
not right now.
What?
He's got a little bit of extracurriculars going on that should clear up first.
What happened?
There's a few sexual assault allegations.
Oh, really?
Pete Rose right now.
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fuck Pete Rose. Right? But I don't think, like, with the lockouts and stuff, I don't think Bud Selig did the game of baseball any favors. And if you look back, I don't remember there being a lot of, like, adoration for him. I don't think he grew the game very well. And as someone who liked baseball and had trouble getting into it growing up a little bit, I look back on some of the dryness of baseball and some of the things that, kept me from becoming a fan. And even how he handled the steroid thing was just a fucking disaster. So, yeah, fuck Bud Selig. Rest in peace. He's dead, right?
I don't think he is, but
Rip.
Maybe I'm thinking of Donald Sterling.
Along the lines of Bud Selig, and this is not my entry, but as I was watching the Field of Dreams game earlier this week, there's just this camera shot in the crowd of Robert Manfred signing autographs and stuff. But like, I don't know if anyone asked for his autograph. It was a quick shot, right? Like you just like see a shot of Manfred, and he's with this kid, and he's holding a baseball, and he's pointing to the ball. Where I'm like, I guarantee this motherfucker right now is telling this kid, I'm Robert Manfred. My name is on all the baseballs. And this kid's just like, I
sign the fucking ball, man.
I like, it reminded me of that scene. It reminded me of that scene from, I think it was Endgame, where they're in that diner and Hulk is like taking pictures with the kids, and Ant-Man's like, you want a picture with me?
Yeah.
And the kid's like, no. Who's Ant-Man?
Megalo? Yeah, no, I guarantee you, like you said, Manfred probably was like, hey, kid, I'm the commissioner. Come here for a sec. Do you want my autograph? The kid's like, and he didn't want to be rude. So he's like, sure.
Yeah. Dustin.
So, okay,
all
Dustin.
Right. So my number 5 may surprise you because not an athlete from the, the big 4 sports,
It's gonna be some
it's
cricket
actually
player.
it's actually an athlete in an individual sport, and it's an athlete in a sport that no one cares about. But I still have this man on my list of top 5 most hated athletes or sports people of all time, and that is Lance Armstrong.
Oh, he's on my list too.
No way.
I swear to God, he's number 4.
Man, I thought I was digging deep for Lance Armstrong, but it's not just because he's a cheater. Because I don't give a fuck about cycling. Do whatever you want, man. I'll never pay attention to the sport ever again.
I just want to see the crashes at the Tour de France.
Or you see some guy like, knocking people over or
Yeah,
something. That's the only reason people ever watch
Oh yeah.
Tour de France. But it's not just because of that, and it's not because of all the other things that he is supposedly
because he
done.
broke Jennifer Aniston's heart.
It is because he made that stupid yellow bracelet cool.
Live strong.
And then took it
So
from
many
him.
people wore that Live Strong bracelet,
And then he
Duped
took it
them
from
all.
everyone.
and I guarantee you, at least one of you had one.
No.
No, I had Live
No.
Strong shoes though.
Oh,
Yeah. But those were just regular
Workout
like
shoes.
Nike shoes that were branded with Live Strong on them. So like you could have bought the regular version in black and white, but the extra $5 were the Live Strong one.
I would be more pissed that he gave that to everybody with this concept behind it, and then his behavior and actions took it away. Like I
Yeah.
think that's more. Like everyone rallied behind this concept, and then it was just ripped away from everybody, and that's kind of that's what
I
bums
think-
me out.
I think we also have to put this in perspective as well. Everyone in cycling is cheating. He's just the figurehead of the guy who survived like 2 bouts of cancer, and he came back and won 7 straight Tour de France's and shit like that. So like, but I guarantee you test any one of those guys thoroughly, they're all cheating,
allegedly.
But
No.
he was number 4 on my list. So I'm gonna swap him out because I do have backups. Okay?
Well, I mean, you can continue on. We can just continue the conversation on Lance Armstrong, and
No, because like it's all good, but like I want some variety. Variety's the spice of life. So
all right,
You
I'll
took-
delete Lance Armstrong from your list.
okay,
As
so
I'm typing them as I go, so I know what we're talking about.
So my number 4 is the aforementioned Rafael Palmeiro.
Okay.
Mostly just for that moment in Congress. Such a smug POS. And then I was gonna bring this up earlier, but because of knowing he was on my list, I was like, you know what, I'll get to it then. When he came back and the people threw the needles on the field, oh my God, I pissed myself laughing. I was like, you deserve this shit. Like, this is what you get. Where some of the other guys, like A-Rod, I can't hate A-Rod because he owned it. He was like, yeah. He's like, I took it. I even brought other guys in. What was that? Bio something? The
Balco?
company? What? Balco. Yeah. He's like, I brought guys in and I did this. And he's not like a pissant, like the other guys who were like, yeah, I took them, but everyone fucking taking them. So fucking this, right? He was so adamant about it. And then he got nailed. And like, I put him up there with Ryan Braun because that guy's a piece of shit too. And then after that, he went downhill and I was happy because seeing those guys, like I don't care if you take steroids. Personally, I don't care, especially in baseball. Other sports, it may not make a difference. Football, probably. But like in hockey and basketball, if anything, it'll probably do you worse unless you're taking them for endurance purposes. But he was just so like, you listen to me. I didn't do this. Now fuck off to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So no, fuck him. Hope he's choking on a bat somewhere.
James, that goes back to you now. You're number 4.
I have 2 people to choose from here from the same sport. I'm gonna go with. Oh fuck. Okay, I'm gonna go with current, a little more current. I fucking can't stand Max Verstappen in F1. I hate that guy. The guy, he's a talented driver, but he's like, I know you guys are like, who? Ridiculous. He's from
We know who he is, but why he's an asshole, I don't know.
he's like a super aggressive driver, which makes him exciting and a lot of people like, but like he caused a shit ton of like accidents a couple years ago, and he races for Red Bull, and Christian Horner's a prick, and he's the team director for Red Bull. He's married to Ginger Spice. He's married to Jerry Halliwell. That's Christian Horner, not Max. I don't know who the fuck Max is dating or married to. But the other thing about Max, and I was at a work thing, and everyone there was like huge F1 fans randomly, and we were talking about all the drivers, and nobody there likes Max. And I said something in the parking lot, and everyone was like, "That's it." I'm like, "Why does everyone hate Max?" And if you look him up, so he's from Denmark. So if you look up his picture, I know why people don't like Max Verstappen. And I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying he looks like. He kind of looks like a Nazi. Like if you look up Max Verstappen, you're like, I can see this guy looking like a Nazi.
I
can see it.
Right?
Well, there's the one image where he gets like he's like this, and I'm just waiting for him to finish it off. I'm just...
right? I don't. So again, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying, if he cosplayed as one, it would be very passable. That's what I'm saying. Believable.
You would buy it. Like you're not really cosplaying, are you?
Like if I dressed up as a Nazi, people would be like, "This guy is not a Nazi." But if like, and Dustin, if you dressed up as a Nazi, I don't think you'd pass for it either. But if this guy did, I think people might think it's, WWE3 is on its way. Like I would, yeah. And you know what? I think the end of the last season of F1 where he kind of cheated and took advantage of a situation to win the championship, and it would have been Lewis Hamilton's record-breaking championship, and he would have beaten Michael Schumacher, who I was debating putting in that spot instead of Verstappen, because fuck that guy too, even though he's practically a vegetable, and that's really sucks because nobody deserves that. But that guy almost ran Jacques Villeneuve off the road in their battle for the Drivers' Championship, and he got deducted points for it, and Jacques won the championship. Canadian boy, Jacques Villeneuve, champion. But yeah, I didn't like Michael Schumacher then either. And he was the other guy I was going to put in there.
All right.
There you go.
So now we're on to my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I had mentioned earlier to Maddie that I actually have some hockey players on this list. And you were surprised that
I was floored.
that I reached for some hockey players.
I had to put a hat on to keep the hair in check because it just went all over the place.
And this one is very Homerish. I don't think this player would be considered a bad person in any way. But for me, and for, I think, all of Leafs Nation, we will always hate that clown-haired motherfucker, Daniel Alfredsson.
He was going to be on my list too.
Yes. That rat face fuck.
Dude never did anything good. Never. I don't care what you say. You can be a Senators fan. Tell me what he did good.
I mean, he did take them to a cup final.
Lost. Shot the puck at Scott Niedermayer on the way to intermission like a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, one of the greatest defensemen in NHL history, and you're trolling.
To be fair, that Ducks team was unstoppable.
That Ducks team was ruthless that year.
Yeah, with Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf and
Chris Pronger,
and Scott Niedermayer,
Jean-Sébastien Giguère. Yeah, like that was Brad May,
Dustin Penner.
Penner Cakes.
Yeah. That team was real good.
But Alfredsson was such a piece of shit. The whole stick throwing thing, the Sundin thing. Like, I know they're buds, but like, you're not my bud. You're not my dude.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with the story, I believe it was during the playoffs, Matt Sundin was taking a shot at net and his stick broke as he took a shot. And he was frustrated and threw his stick away, and it happened to go into the crowd. He was suspended a game or two or whatever it was because of that. And then it may have been the next time they played. I feel like this might have been the same playoff series, actually. So they played each other again very quickly thereafter. And Alfredsson took a shot, broke his stick, and pretended to throw it into the crowd. And ever since then, he has been, he doesn't play anymore, obviously. But ever since that point, every time Daniel Alfredsson touched the puck in the Air Canada Center, he got booed out of the building.
Other thing he did, that son of a bitch did, was he hit Darcy Tucker from behind.
Yeah. In the playoffs, too. Same playoffs.
Yeah, and then he would always hide behind Chris Neal.
It's a safe place to hide, really.
Or no, Chris Neal, or do you mean Chris Simon?
No, Chris Neal.
Or Chris Phillips.
That guy looks like the most, beer leaguer ever. Chris Phillips.
Remember when
Like,
he
if you
fucked
go
up?
over,
Remember when he fucked up the pass from behind the net?
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, like he's the most beer league looking NHLer I've ever seen. Like if there's guys that you see at like the Sunday Scarborough skates that look like they could play in the NHL more than Chris Phillips looks like he could play in the NHL. But Chris Phillips was legitimately actually a very good player.
Remember when those Senators chose Redden over Chara? Ugh.
Remember? Okay.
Chara's still playing in the league somehow.
Yeah, I know. And Wade Redden got buried in Connecticut. But
Yeah, for the Rangers,
yeah, when he went to the Rangers. But speaking of Sens, I know we're getting off topic. A player that like gets no love from that team, kind of deservedly so, but probably should get more, is Alexei Yashin and how dominant he was for that team when he was there. Like the Leafs had to come up with a game plan strictly for Yashin in the playoffs with
They had to
Shane
shadow him,
Corson just
yeah.
shadowing the shit out of him,
Yeah.
just to win.
Same with Marian Hossa too. Like there were so many great players in the Senators in that era.
Spezza?
Yeah,
Where
Danny
every
Heatley.
time, yeah, oh man, like the Leafs Senators battles in the playoffs were something to see.
They didn't have
But like,
goaltending.
yeah, Patrick Lalime was an absolute sieve in the playoffs. Great in the season, couldn't stop a puck in the playoffs. All I remember is Joe Newendike beating him twice the exact same way,
Off the wall.
Yeah.
off the like
The blue
left
line.
side, coming down, shotting 5-hole both times.
Yeah.
And Lalime didn't even go down; he stood.
Yeah. Lame.
But-
He got the nickname.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is the Sens dominated us in the season in those eras, but then come playoff teams, the Leafs would just grind it out. And it's the truest example of season hockey isn't playoff hockey. Because
Yep.
at those eras, the Leafs were built for playoffs,
Yep.
right? So, all right. So,
All right,
is this
back
my
to our
number three?
list. Yes, is your number 3. Your list thus far is Brad Marchand and Rafael Palmeiro, although sort of also Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
Your number 3.
My number 3 is not an actual athlete, but it's someone in sports. It is a sportscaster.
Oh, I think I know where we're going with this.
Fucking Skip fucking Bayless.
Oh,
I hate that.
You're going to go
fuck.
Arash Madani, actually.
No, right? No, that's just a universal hate. Like he doesn't deserve a place on my list. Fuck that guy. But no, Skip Bayless is one of the biggest POSs, cherry picking all of these guys that he likes, shit talking guys for absolutely with stupid takes. And like I would probably look at some guys and be like, oh, that take is for clicks. But he does it because he's just fucking stupid.
Who is
Like-
Skip Bayless anyway? Like he's just
Yeah.
a guy.
He's just a guy with takes. Like I look at Stephen A. Smith and he bugs me and he irks me, but whatever, I can accept it. Skip Bayless is just this fucking guy. I just hope someone just kicks him right in the nuts
Probably
and like
happening.
videotapes it
Probably
and puts it on TikTok. Right? And it's just he wasn't on my list until it was yesterday, and I went down a rabbit hole of just, you know, NFL stuff coming up and basketball season and shit like that. And just reading some of the takes this guy had, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And like he had some takes on like hockey that I looked at. I was like, for a dude who probably watches 3 games a year and can't skate worth shit, and he's trying to talk about hockey, like fuck off. And like his shitting on, you know, his rants on LeBron all the time or TO. I don't know, man. He just fuck. Like I'm getting angry. Like this was supposed to be fun, and I'm just getting angry.
I'm still having fun. James, what's your number 3?
I mean, along the same ilk, Steve Simmons.
Arash Madani.
Steve Simmons, man.
Oh, sorry, say it again. I think I know what you
Simmons?
said, though.
Steve Simmons.
Yeah. Steve Simmons of
Yeah.
the Toronto Sun.
This guy used to get TV time. They used to put this guy on TS on
The
TSN,
reporters with Dave Hodge.
Yeah, with Dave Hodge and Michael Farber and all those guys. But Steve Simmons has, you want to talk like his takes aren't as full of vitriol as Skip Bayless, but they're just brain dead. Like every time he tweets or writes an article, like he has to be the OG troll. Like it has to, there's no way that he's doing this without the intent of just like the controversy creates cash, Eric Bischoff strategy. Like there's no way, because everything he says is so enormously proof that he doesn't know sports. is such proof that he doesn't know sports that I don't know how he's employed, other than his employers are like, wow, he gets a lot of traffic when he says dumb shit, which actually helps us. The guy's written for The Sun forever, which is a fucking rag in of itself. So there's that.
I wouldn't even clean up my dog's shit with The Sun.
I've seen him in the mall and been tempted to be like, I'd go to jail for a couple days for this. You know? He's such a whine. And you know what bugs me?
The whiny voice. And then I need to Phil Kessel. No,
That's a pretty good impression. He did this interview on Gameplay with Matt Cause once. Game Day, before it was Gameplay, when betting became legal. And he talked about how much social anxiety he has and how much all this stuff, he flies planes. Any other human, I would have felt bad. Yeah, that might sound cold. And I'm all for, like, you know, get help if you have mental health struggles. And you know what, Steve Simmons? If by chance this makes it to you, you're listening, I hope you get help too. But I also ain't sympathetic because you're a piece of shit. So,
well, so like for a guy who's self-admitted, like you said, with that kind of problem, the shit he brings onto himself too.
Or the stuff he says about other people, like the Willie Nylander IKEA thing, like that's the kind of stuff that causes the problems that you experience.
Or the shitting on Patrick Marleau.
Yeah, so either you're ignorant or you're tone deaf or you're an acknowledged, you're self-aware asshole. So Steve Simmons.
The funny thing is one more thing on Steve Simmons is you see other reporters who will come say something and maybe get themselves in hot water for a rough take, and then other people kind of jump and be like, you know, like, yeah, it's a bad take, but you also have to look at blah blah blah. No one comes to this fucker's defense ever.
No one is on Team Simmons.
No, and it's because they're probably just like, are you fucking kidding me, Steve?
Yeah, that's it. That's the line. Are you fucking kidding me, Steve? Like, that has probably been said about this guy 3 or 4 times a week.
I remember when Brian Burke had his, like, his last press conference with the Maple Leafs after he got let go. And he's like, the best thing about this day, they'll never have to talk to Steve Simmons ever again, or something along those lines. What he said.
Or remember when the press conference after Matthews got COVID, and when and then Steve had to ask a question, and they were like, we're not answering.
Matthew called him out. He was just like, you know, I just firstly before getting to your question, he's like, I want to say what you did and what you wrote was really kind of gutless and blah blah blah. And he kind of went on. I'm paraphrasing and simplifying, but like I don't have the quote in front of me, but he essentially called him out on it, and good. He deserves to be called out for that shit. And this is the thing. I'm no massive fan of Dave Feschuk. I think his writing sometimes is kind of gully, but at least I can tolerate that dude when he's on, you know, Overdrive or on TSN, his takes, whatever. I don't actually mind him too much when he's just shooting the shit about some sports. It's fine. It's just his writing I can't stand. Steve Simmons as an existence, I think, should be erased.
That's a little much,
all right,
but I think he's got kids.
On to my number 3 of most hated sports figures. Not only have I strayed away from my favorite sports, this is one of my least favorite sports. And I think we briefly talked about my displeasure for the English Premier League. And this player currently plays in the English Premier League. At least he does currently at the moment until he bitches and complains and gets moved somewhere else.
Mine.
It's Ronaldo.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo.
This is Cristiano Ronaldo.
That was one of mine.
And I know I said I want to keep it away from their off-field extracurriculars. So we're not even going to talk about all those things. Let's just talk about him as a player and how he just seems like an arrogant prick. And we'll talk about how everyone in Manchester United right now, it is Manchester United, whoever the fuck he plays for. I think it's Manchester United.
Yeah, it's Man U.
This is how much I follow English Premier League at this point.
Or transfer.
They want him out of there as soon as possible. They don't even care if they just cut him loose. Like, just get this cancer out of our locker room. This is the type of player we're talking about that, I mean, again, I don't give 2 shits about English Premier League soccer, but if Cristiano Ronaldo was on fire, I wouldn't piss on him.
He just looks like a douchebag. The stupid haircut, the stupid everything. It's all
the celebration when he where he twirls his fingers, comes up and fucking thinks he's a wrestler and jumps in the fuck off.
It's it's just so dramatic. Like soccer enough is dramatic because of all the dives and shit, and like some of the lifestyles or something. But he is just on another level of douchebaggery stank that he was going to be on my list. Because
I mean, okay, since we're going long on this, I feel like it's okay to have repeated names. Like we can just continue the conversation on Cristiano Ronaldo and make him number 2 on both of your lists, and we move on.
He's not on my list, so.
No,
okay, so just 2 on James' list.
So fucking. Yeah.
He couldn't even get the big sign.
And again, like we're not going to talk about his messed up stuff outside of soccer, but you should look it up. It's very interesting.
It's fascinating that how much, like when they say like money is power can make a lot go away. It's funny how much can go away when you make as much money as Cristiano Ronaldo does.
Yeah.
But so okay, what number am I on?
2.
3 or 2?
So you are on to your last 2 picks. I feel like the guys I have on my last 2 picks will probably end up on your guys' list as well. One of them I think will for sure. So that being said, we don't have to necessarily go through all 5, all of us, because I think we're going to have a lot of these names shared, especially by the top, with Ronaldo being a great example of that. So go ahead with your number 2 spot, Maddie.
KD.
Oh.
KD is number 2 on my list. Not because of, the current Brooklyn situation. I think a lot of athletes want out of situations, just some don't go the route that Kevin Durant is currently going down. But again, basketball is a different beast because the players have way more power than any other sport. I just think the ring chasing thing and then him trying to essentially state his legacy up there with guys like Jordan, Kobe, Kareem, Dr. J, and say he's the greatest. Or didn't he have some quote about how he's like God or some shit like a couple weeks ago or whatever, or like he's the greatest on the court?
And then the burner account.
I don't know.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and then the whole burner account thing. Like, and I know we said let's like leave it off the court shit or the off the playing surface shit, but
I'm still involved in the sport.
Yeah, that's involved in the sport because he's defending himself through a burner account. I just think as
I'll allow it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. But just collectively, that shit, the chasing the rings and yet trying to say you don't need to do that, but clearly you do, to go to a super team to be able to win. Like you can't do it on your own, and yet you're trying to say I am the reason they won. It's like fuck you, man. And then like Jim said, the burner account shit. Like, it's a dude who's so insecure and so worried about what everyone else thinks of him that he should just put that time and energy into just being a better team guy. And I guarantee you he would have more success on the teams that aren't Golden State.
So, James, your number 2, I guess, technically is Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
If you don't want him on your list, that's fine. But like, no, I think at the end, I'm going to end up ranking these. And at this point, Lance Armstrong and Cristiano Ronaldo are going to be pretty high on the list of our collective most hated people.
I wonder if I'm gonna say my next 2 in the same thing because they're the most hated for the same reason, so they can be my 2 and 1s. So one of them is Gary Bettman. I absolutely.
I know who the other is then.
Cannot stand Gary Bettman. And
is the other Bill Daly?
No, Roger Goodell.
No, it's not.
Oh,
okay. Gary Bettman. Listen, the NHL has improved in many ways under Gary Bettman, but there are other things holding the NHL back that he refuses to move on. Arizona being one of them. I have never seen a guy bail on Canadian franchises so quick and then be like, no, Arizona has to stay. And I wonder if it's because it's his first expansion that like he refuses to admit failure on it.
Well, I think it's because he can't take the team away from them.
Yes, he can. They owned it at one point. The NHL owned the team.
Owned the team.
Then I have no excuse for
it. They could have moved it to Houston, Kansas City. I don't care. It didn't have to be Quebec. It didn't have to be Winnipeg at the time. Just not Arizona. And the fact right now that they're playing in a 5,000, listen, the atmosphere might be incredible, whatever.
I kind of want to go.
I want to go.
It's not a good look. It's not. I mean, you can't even have your own logo in the middle of the ice. Like that's not.
No,
that's not a good look.
As a big four sport in the States, and yeah, you can't have a professional sports team play in a university state 5,000 seat capacity arena. Like Winnipeg's barn is small and they hold 16,000, I think, like at max capacity. So the fact that you're getting 20%, 25% of Winnipeg's, and Winnipeg's already considered small, that's really bad. And again, the atmosphere might be fantastic. It might be really cool getting that close, and you can't even make the excuse like, oh, we're waiting for our arena to be built, we need a year. No, because you went there before you got a deal in place for your new arena.
The sad thing is that I don't think we can call it the Big Four anymore. It probably needs to be the Big Five because the MLS has surpassed the NHL in the US.
Yeah.
Has it?
At least in terms of, I was looking at the television numbers for the All-Star games, and I think it was Major League Baseball's All-Star game was one, and then the Pro Bowl, and then the NBA's All-Star weekend, and then the MLS All-Star whatever, and then the NHL All-Star game. Like in terms of television ratings, the NHL was lower than MLS.
I'm surprised NBA is not higher, to be honest.
Over football and baseball, I can see them sitting third there.
Yeah,
Football.
I think it was a wide margin though. It was like, I don't know what the numbers were, but hypothetically, it was something like 40 million people saw the baseball All-Star game, and then 39 million people for the NFL, and then basketball was like 35 million, and then MLS was like 1 million, and then NHL was like 500,000. You know, it was like such a huge discrepancy between 3 and 4, but like 1 through 3 was pretty tight.
So I mean, the hard salary cap, well, it does, like, I don't even know it does anything for the small market teams because they can't get there. So like if you talk about, like, they're not spending to the cap anyway. They're trying to find ways to meet the cap floor. So I don't.
Oh yeah, they're taking on contracts that are guys that won't play just to get to the floor.
Right. So I don't think the hard salary cap is helping these small market teams. And then just to move quickly through it, the other one has to be Harold Ballard. I wasn't even alive, but the amount of years he set back the Toronto Maple Leafs franchise just by running it like a business and not giving a shit about winning because he just knew that Leaf fans would show up. And the curse of Harold Ballard, like, it's atrocious the amount of competitive years the Leafs had to flush away under his ownership. And don't rest in peace, you fuck.
I'm actually surprised. I mean, I like your list, and I can see your points for all of them, but I'm surprised my top 2 hasn't found its way into your list. So I'm interested to see where this goes. I guess I'm up next. And since Maddie only has 1 spot left, right, because you have Marchand, Palmeiro, Bayless, and KD. So I have 2 spots left. I'm going to throw out both of them at the same time as well, because we're running a little long here. And I feel like one of these has to be in your list, Maddie. But we'll see. The first one, Public Enemy number 1 in the 1993,
Kerry Fraser.
No. Remember the cheap shot on Gilmore?
So you're gonna say Wayne Gretzky?
Late hit to Gilmore. Played for the LA Kings. Late hit to Gilmore. It was knee on knee. Principal point of contact to the head. Wiped him out. Wendell Clark jumped in to fight him. And then years later, he would be most famous for taking his hockey stick and cracking it over the head of Donald Brashear. Yes. One Marty McSorley, who will forever be known as the guy who swung the stick at a dude's head.
Which sucks
got a criminal charge. I don't know if he got charged, but he got what's the word I'm looking for here? He was reprimanded? At least there were some criminal proceedings based on the actions that happened on the ice there that day. I don't remember if he got charged or not.
The shitty thing is he was a pretty decent enforcer and wasn't actually half decent hockey player before he kind of ruined his entire career and like stained it with that one incident. And that was such a dumb play.
Same with Todd Bertuzzi.
Yeah. Like Todd Bertuzzi, same thing. Like Todd Bertuzzi, a hell of a hockey player. Nobody gives a shit about what he did. He punched Steve Moore in the back of the head.
Yeah, and I thought about putting Bertuzzi on the list, but I don't hate Bertuzzi. I think it was just a bonehead play.
It's stupid,
and tensions got a little
And
high.
people punch each other all the time in hockey.
Yeah, and it was a cheap shot, absolutely. And I think more of the damage was on like the follow through when they like fell on top of him.
The ice, yeah.
But in any event, whereas McSorley was using his stick as a weapon, or that's dangerous. And then my number one.
Top shot.
I'm surprised he hasn't popped up on your guys' list so far, and I feel like maybe it's Maddie's number one. And I'm going back. I'm actually not going back. I'm going to baseball for the first time. Currently plays for the Baltimore Orioles, but I think both of you will remember him as a Texas Ranger when the Blue Jays and the Rangers played in the playoffs, and there was a brawl between Jose Bautista and Rude Ned Odor.
Rough Ned.
I didn't think I could hate that guy more until he had to shave his beard off for the Yankees. And I was like, I fucking hate this guy without a beard way more.
Yeah. Like seeing the full face, I'm like, you're a
punchable.
fucktard.
Even more punchable.
Yeah. No, like I see it though. Like Rougned Odor, not on my list, surprisingly.
Wow. Why did he punch Batista anyway? Because of the bat?
He said Batista slid in hard.
He slid into second base like you do every single time you slide into second base.
Yeah, essentially, like if it's a tight play, you're always going in with your legs a little up.
He was mad at the bat flip.
Like, you're literally taught to do that. At least at that era of baseball, like you're supposed to take out the second baseman or shortstop or whoever.
He was mad at the bat
flip. To break up the double play.
He was just mad at the bat flip, right?
I suppose so. That's probably what it all stemmed from. And speaking of which, the guy literally pimped a home run against the Blue Jays the other day. So
yeah, no, he can suck a dick. But no, oddly enough, not my number one. My number one was going to be LeBron. And I say was because I don't like it when top 1% athletes, like guys that are the 1%, act like are so concerned with everyone thinks of them. That's why I love Kobe so much. Kobe's like, I don't fucking care. He went in and put in the work. And everything you saw about Kobe, again, on the court was the work ethic and the attitude. And, he was cold and a bit of an asshole, but the dude worked his ass off harder than anyone else. So he backed up the talent with the work. And it seems like LeBron is so worried about with people perceiving him that instead of just shutting out and being like, I'm just going to work hard, he's like, no, respect me kind of thing. So, but no, not my number one. Honestly, my number one's for no other reason than I hate the way the guy looks, to be honest. Like, I hate watching this dude walk around. I hate, like, the way he walked up to his position, everything like fucking Brett Gardner.
Oh.
Brett Gardner is my number one most disliked. The stupid heavy chew of tobacco or gum, spitting around the little man syndrome, the tough guy, like
he looks like someone's shitty stepdad. Yeah.
And like I had no greater moment than that highlight where he gets angry, slams his helmet down, it comes up and smacks him in the face. Like that was honestly like a running screensaver on my phone for a while. Was that image. And it just I can't stand the fucking guy. It's just everything about him drives me nuts. And when he was gonna potentially like become a Blue Jay and he was close, I would have burnt every Jays jersey I owned, even if his name's not on it, just because I have such a disdain for that guy, and it's completely irrational. But
that's like it.
It's just I want to grab him and pop his fucking head off like a fucking pimple. It drives me nuts.
All right, so I think we've had our dose of hatred and visceral so far on this episode of the show. So let's end it with some positivity. Let's end it with some shout-outs.
Shout, let it all out. Shout it out.
That's right. Shout-outs is when we list off some positive things to end the show on a high note. And James, how much time do we have for shout-outs? I started my stopwatch too late.
We have about 4 minutes.
Okay, I'll be quick with mine. My shout-out goes to the writers of Westworld. Westworld season 4 wrapped up on Sunday night, and honestly, such a cool show. There is so much about Westworld that's dumb as hell and doesn't make any goddamn sense. But if you kind of just roll with it and just understand that it's all over the place, it actually is really cool. And the way they left season 4, it's kind of in a cool spot. Like, they don't necessarily have to come back for a season 5, but if they do, it's there. But if they leave it and the show is over in 4 seasons, it actually works really, really well.
Cool.
James, how about you? Or Maddie?
Okay, no. Jim wants to go.
Okay, I'll go real quick. My shout out was going to be me for carrying us through this fucking thing and finally making this shit work. We joked about it in the beginning, but I was going to shout out myself for all the hard work and effort. But then I would sound like LeBron. So my shout out actually goes to Albert Pujols. Man, that guy, 2 home runs the other night in his swan song again with the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think there's an underrated hitter like Albert Pujols in this game that fucking played the game the right way. And that was such a fucking cool dude. Like, he's just a good dude. Like, you look at, like, he did everything right. There's nothing wrong with Albert Pujols. And, you know, he's not getting the Derek Jeter treatment the way that he should in his farewell spin. But man, 2 home runs. I hope he surpasses A-Rod somehow this season. I know he's not an everyday player, but shout out to Albert Pujols.
I like it. Mine is the Latvian junior hockey team. They won their first World Junior game, celebrated like it was a gold medal. They're 1-27, but man, just seeing them grit it out against a decent team and like Czechia
fell in too. They fell into the tournament.
They fell into the tournament because Russia and Belarus are a bunch of fuckheads. So, you know what? Good on them, and they deserve to celly. And, you know, with powerhouse teams that you see in the same top 4 in the juniors every year, really happy to see them. And, you know, good on those guys and congrats to those boys.
And those guys are going to tell stories about, like, and you know what? Who cares if they win one game? They're going to tell stories about playing against the year they won a game, but they also played against Connor Bedard. They played against Mason McTavish. Like, they're going to tell these Matthew Knight, like, they're going to tell these stories, and that's really fucking cool for them. You're right. Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining us for another episode 18.
A gritty performance.
43.6. The sports podcast you always wanted. Remember, follow us on all social medias at 43.6. We're now on YouTube, I believe, possibly 43.6 as well. We will catch you next week for a whole lot more sports stories and a whole lot more of everything else on 43.6.